there is nothing more to be done except to prime the oil system, and then there's nothing left except to turn the key. So here we go.
And if you're new here to the Limit 55 channel, make sure to subscribe to support the creation of more content about the classic car experience.
I'm just waiting for Steve to show up with the garden sprayer modified to fit the oil gallery pipe. So we're going to pressurize the oil system with oil so we have positive pressure. And then there's nothing left except to turn the key. Steve is here, starting the engine for the first time since 1984. 40 years. It hasn't been outside in 3 years. And now we're going to prime it with oil, connect the battery, turn the key, and hopefully it doesn't burn down straight away. But we're going to see.
That's why it's outside.
Yeah. It's always advisable. Step 1, put the car as far away from the house as possible. So when you burn it down, you don't also burn down your house. Okay.
Engine oil priming rig. Available at your local hardware store. I already did a video on this, so I don't need to go into real detail,
but it is just a garden sprayer.
It is.
Right?
It is a garden sprayer.
Handy sprayer.
Only
full of oil.
With oil instead of your favorite bug killer or fertilizer.
And then a bit of tube.
Bit of tubing. The second one's blocked off. We don't need that for this. Okay. That was for a different engine. So
it's a multi-purpose tool.
Just connect this where your oil pressure gauge would normally go, and it doesn't need to be clamped down or tight or anything. Just slip it over because we're dealing with low pressures.
That'll be enough.
Good idea to remove the valve cover just to make sure oil comes out of the rocker tips, because when the oil comes out of the rocker tips, you know it's gone everywhere. That's the farthest point it has to go. So it's going to come up this tube here, up through the rocker shaft, out each one of the rockers. It's going to go through the oil galleys in the block to the front and start pouring over the timing chain, down most importantly into the oil pump, because if we just crank the engine now, we probably won't have prime in the pump. There'll be no suction, so pushing oil down through the pump pushes all the air out, and then when you fire the engine, you've got the suction you need to get the oil pressure built up. Okay. I'll do this so we can get some leaves and stuff from this tree down in there while we work.
Yeah, it's very important to give your engine fiber.
It's not going to come spraying out or anything. We're dealing with low pressures. It's just going to sort of dribble out the holes in the top of the rockers.
I love the sound effect.
That's not the garden sprayer. That's me. It's my elbows. There it comes. There it comes. See it?
I saw it.
See it all dripping?
Who told you to stop pumping, soldier?
Sorry. All right. Engine is primed.
It's gooey. It's oily. No one told me it was going to be oily.
You didn't ask.
No one said that wasn't in the travel brochure.
Didn't say there'd be so many ostriches.
Is that a line from Jurassic Park?
No, it's a Family Guy line.
Is it?
Yeah. It was Don Knotts. It's some joke about Don Knotts going to an ostrich farm. And then it's got Don Knotts there going, "Why are there so many ostriches? Nobody said there'd be so many ostriches. It wasn't in the brochure." I don't even know why that was funny, but I guess it was.
Yep.
So it can be cranked over now.
All right.
It's a moment of truth. Yeah. 30 pounds on the starter. That's fine.
The spark plugs are gapped. We've statically timed it using not the right tools to do that.
Okay, when you say we,
I mean I. Steve doesn't want any credit for the shoddy workmanship.
That's right.
What else have we done that I've done that is
you
possibly correct?
Have presumably adjusted the valves.
Yes.
You've got your...
a little bit loose.
It's fine.
16 or something. 15,000.
You've got oil in the engine, you've got coolant, you've got the valves adjusted, you got your timing set to roughly...
Firing at top dead center.
At top dead center, okay. So we'll want to advance that a little bit.
Okay.
Because the factory setting is for 1940s fuels, which I don't think you have in the gas tank, so...
We did before, but then I got rid of it.
Right, yeah, it's not in there anymore.
We've addressed that.
So we'll adjust that a few degrees forward once we get the thing started.
Spark plugs are gapped.
Spark plugs are gapped. Right. Your oil fittings have all been checked for tightness. Fuel fittings have checked for tightness. Carburetors are tightened down. Fuel lines, the banjo fittings are tightened. You've made sure your float valves aren't stuck open.
Well, just the one that has a tickler pin, the other one is missing, so that's good.
If fuel comes blowing out, then you know it's stuck open.
You know there's fuel
Shut
in
the
there.
key off. All right, well that I think about covers the basics. So
we've gone through all the wiring, and when we say we, I mean I.
Right, okay, thank you for elaborating on that.
And I have found most of all of the clipped and broken wires and heat shrinked most of them. So that is mostly mitigated.
So you've minimized, but not necessarily eliminated, the chance of short circuits, sparks, fires, and blown fuses. Okay.
You know, you don't want to completely rule out all the fun. You want to leave some things to still be able to, make things exciting.
Okay. Now you've attached the battery because you're feeling good about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it didn't catch fire yet, so that's really good. Yeah. We are on the path to greatness.
Okay, so I think the next step is to turn the key, fire up the fuel pump, get some fuel into the carbs.
Yes.
Because it's not going to start without that. Contrary to what you may have heard otherwise, it will not start without fuel in the carburetors. So
let's do that.
Let's do that. As soon as you turn the key, check for leaks.
Yeah, true. That's why we have the fire extinguisher.
Right.
Which is a stick. They used to be extinguishers. I mean, they used to be bigger.
Isn't it funny how your fire extinguisher works like a road flare? Seems kind of counterintuitive.
I'm so full of optimism, I even read the instructions for how to use this thing, and I was equally surprised to find out that, as you just said, by the pictorial here, you're supposed to strike it like a road flare. I was not expecting that. I didn't know that's how this worked. Hopefully we don't need it.
Well, it's good to learn before you need it, right? On. Now touch the ground to that bolt.
Oh, is it getting bad?
Just making sure it was getting ground or not. Okay, so yeah. So
should we just flick the points open with a screwdriver?
Yeah, you know what?
Is that all it needs?
We should video this. This is like...
Oh yeah, baby.
Okay, so these pumps do this sometimes when they're new because they've been sitting on the shelf for so long that there's a little corrosion in these points right here. So sometimes you can just kind of work the points by hand a little bit and they start going. Other times you need to get in there and actually just file or sand down those points with some memory cloth, nail file, that sort of thing, just to get the corrosion off, and they should get going. So I'm gonna put the lead back on here. There you go. Look at the fuel, look at it flow.
I knew there was a reason I brought you along here today.
Magic finger. So this is good. Slowing down to a stop. Okay,
and there's our first leak.
There you go. Task number 1, fix that. Turn the key off.
Oh, it was loose.
Yeah, it sure is.
That's good.
Okay, refer back to step 4, was it? Check the loose bolts and nuts?
Yeah.
Maybe we should have said double check. And the other thing, the bolt underneath that holds the float bowl onto the body has to be tight also. This float bowl should not be wiggling around because you're going to get a leak right down onto the starter. So check that, double check it, triple check it, get it tight. Don't over tighten that one because the threads in the bottom of that body are pretty weak and you can strip them, but you have to get it tight enough to work and stay tight. So you have to risk stripping it to get it to the right tightness. If they're worn out, they will strip, and you know that happens. You can get them repaired, but you can't leave them loose because the threads are worn out, just to avoid having to repair the thing. So
You want me to strip, Steve?
I'd rather you not strip. All right,
Here we go.
40 years later.
1, 2,
Do it.
3.
It doesn't usually whine this much. I don't really like that.
Is there oil in it?
The diff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've never checked.